specialist engineering firm of about 300 employees. We want to talk to you today, guys, about leadership in engineering. We want to talk and we want to bring up the subject of engineering and why we need more engineers in the industry right across the globe, not just in the States, but right across. And what is leadership in engineering look like? What does a good engineer have to have as an individual? What does a company need to do to attract more great engineers into the business? We all know we're struggling for different trades, all trades in particular, but in this instance, engineering is a fantastic career to have for any individual coming out of school or thinking that they want to get into construction. Cannot hype it up enough, but we have the right man in the right place to give us his background, but also talk about his company and what they're doing to attract engineers and what a good engineer looks like within their business. And no better man than Craig to give us some insights today. So welcome to the show, Craig. Great to have you here.
Hey, appreciate that. Thanks, Gavin. I appreciate that intro. And yeah, I think first of all, I'd like to share, I don't know what I don't know yet, and I'm still learning. So I've got a lot of lessons learned and just things that I found helpful to me over the last couple of decades. So my background has been primarily around self-performed construction the last couple of decades, and I'm relatively new to the engineering game, but I've got an engineer degree. But I'm not a licensed engineer. So the role I fill oftentimes is as a consulting engineer, but it's really looking at constructability, how we can plan the work to be safe. So there's a lot of things that can be done from an engineering perspective to make a project flow better. Yeah. And a lot of people don't look at that. So, the technical engineers are great at solving problems and finding solutions. But trying to look at the project holistic, I've found very helpful over the last several months working with this group. So it's been great.
Give us a flavor, because I was on the website there the last couple of days. It's a pretty big organization by the looks of it, pretty wide ranging in terms of the different aspects of your engineering business. Maybe give the listeners and viewers some sort of a sense of the size of McClure, what you do and where you go.
Yeah, so the firm's been around 70 years this year, and it's a roughly 300-person engineering firm. But we've got different verticals that we're in. We started as an infrastructure firm back in the 50s, and then today I'm with our structural department, and our structural team's only been with the firm roughly a decade, but we're evolving. We do a lot of work with contractors, so I think that gives us a unique perspective as well. Working with contractors is great because they typically know what they want, and then we're just there to help them. So that's been great. And then my background with construction and working as a contractor fits that very well. But
a lot of utilities. A lot of utility work I see as well, Craig. A lot of big infrastructure projects, bridges and stuff like that.
Our infrastructure group. So we do get into highways and bridges. A lot of water, wastewater is really the niche that our firm has. And then the structural side, we've got some niches in form steel, other framing design, and then our structural department, or the piece that I work with, our manufacturing industrial focus, we're growing that, and it's been great.
So what are you doing to attract new talent into the business?
Attracting new talent. Well, I don't know. I'm in a reasonable office, is pretty nice, but how do you attract new people in the business? I think it's just share them, but it's a good opportunity. What I learned early in my career is really it's just people want to know they have a job to go to at the end of the day. Maybe people coming fresh out of school aren't necessarily thinking about that, but people that have been in the industry for a while, they want to know that they've got work to do. So the transparency around backlog and what we're doing is important. I see that as one of the higher value pieces of just, hey, we've got work. Here's how we operate. Here's how we try to balance that. You think of the work life, kind of the work life balance, work life, whatever that is different for everybody. At different times in my career, I've tried work life balance. I've tried work life integration and different things, and I think it's finding the person where they're at, and what interests them. And one of the nice things is we're probably, I like to say we're a large, small engineering firm, or maybe we're a small, mid-sized engineering firm, but it gives us a lot of flexibility there to work with folks where they're at.
Yeah. So are we talking civil and structural engineering? Like, what's the different facets of the engineering within your business?
Yeah, so yeah, my background's really been in construction. So um, the civil engineering development services is really a big piece of the business. The structural engineering that I'm a part of is becoming a bigger part of the business. We'd like it to continue to grow. And
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, they're definitely different. One of the things that in construction, so my background being in the industry a couple of decades now, I've learned there's different ways that projects are delivered. So from a larger capital project perspective, is different than a self-perform project, uh, regardless of the size of the self-perform work. And then you've got more of a specialty services delivery as well, and they're all managed slightly different, or all executed a little bit different.
Mhm.
But it's all construction, so it's the same with engineering. There's similar aspects between each different market, but that's there's some nuances to each of those as well.
So, mechanical and electrical, is that part of, as in engineers in the mechanical and electrical side of things? Do you do any of that?
We do not do any of that today.
Yeah. So it really is just the structural and civil construction
Yeah.
engineering aspect of it. That's interesting. Have you? I'm going to throw a curveball at you if you don't mind. Is there a certain type of personality suited to engineering?
Well, so
No,
one
not.
of the reasons I was brought in is I do have a lot of relationships with industrial clients and manufacturing, and gosh, we have all kinds of folks.
Yeah.
But there's people that are more relational, but there's also people that might be a little more introverted and very technical, but they're really good
Yeah.
at what they do. But they can go their whole career and not have to interact with a client. And there's other people that want that interaction. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty broad range of personalities that we have in this field.
Okay.
You got to
I'll
be willing to do math, though.
you got to be willing to do maths, is right. And I think introvert helps. If I'm honest, I think it's no harm being an introvert, because it's like the what I found, and in our business in health and safety, sometimes we pick up people who started off as engineers and then they change their career to safety. So then, there is a title out there, safety engineer as well. But I found them very detailed and very good at the analytics side of safety. So if there was a problem, they're more logical in their thinking in terms of, okay, let's go through all the different steps to where this broke down, as opposed to some people who just went straight out and done a safety qualification. I hate saying this, but we kind of had the terminology a loose safety officer, in terms of their judgment wouldn't be as tight as an engineer's mindset. And I found it fascinating that any of the engineers that we've had through the business, and still do to today, their logic, their mind logic is just like, it sets them apart.
No, that's fair. So I've been blessed to work with a lot of great clients, and the contractors that I've worked with have all had a great safety mindset. So that's really prepared me to take a look at projects from a safety perspective, or just, there's different things that can be done as far as design goes, for access, whether it's an excavation or whether it's an elevated platform or whatever it may be, that
Mm-hmm.
if we plan safety into it early on, it really doesn't cost additional or take more time to do it right. We just
Correct.
need to be involved early enough to make that difference. And a lot of that comes down to asking the right questions. There's a lot of times we go into a situation and things aren't brought up or thought of until it's too late, or you're there in the moment, and then that's when things start to cost a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can take a look at it and ask the right questions, usually we come up with a great solution for the customer.
Yeah. Another curveball coming at you in terms of engineering. Are we over engineering on
Are we
projects?
over engineering? Gosh, I don't know. I think it depends.
Come on now, don't be sitting on the fence on this
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
Are we
yeah.
doing stuff that's like 3 times what it should be or 10 times what it should be? And I'm able to go, are we really going to use that much steel on this project? Oh my God, who the hell came up with this design? Because it's
Yeah.
crazy shit.
So with my experience in construction, one of the things I feel I offer is some ability to what I like to call cowboy engineers. So we'll do some hand waving, and I can work with our team to come up with a design solution that's going to be safe and but also be reasonable. But the idea of, like I said, I call it cowboy engineering. I'm not technically qualified to stamp something, but I've had enough experience I can get pretty close.
Yeah.
So that's I think helps with the experience I've had to prevent us from some of the over engineering. A lot of the engineers that I've worked with through the years and prior history here, wherever, they're designing things as they go, even when it's conceptual. They're putting a little bit more thought into the technical side of it, and
Yeah.
There's safety factors that are built in. And one of the things that I'm able to do is just, hey, let's approach it a certain way, and I can get pretty close. And then I said, okay, well then let's have you evaluate if this makes sense, because there's times that we need to add bracing. There's times that member sizes need to change. Maybe the layout needs to be reconfigured, but
we don't need mavericks.
yeah,
But I can see why they need you, because you can kind of have the constructability conversation with the engineers and go, look, like we've done this before 1,000
well,
times. We don't need to.
yeah, and working in industrial manufacturing, and maybe you've seen this as well. You go into some facilities, and there may be an access platform that was put there in the 50s that they've been using, but it was never engineered in the first place, and when it was put in, and it may not calculate out if you take a time to do an analysis of it, but the response from the client is, we've been using it for 70 years.
Yeah.
So, there's things that from an engineering design that may not work from a technical theoretical standpoint, but from an actual use standpoint, the customer is going to point to it and say, well, we're already using it, so why can't I use it? Why can't I use it after you look at it? So it's it's interesting. You probably have encountered that in safety in your lifetime. They're like, well, we've always done it this way.
Yeah. Well,
nobody's ever been hurt, right?
It's kind of the reverse engineering conversation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's reverse engineer what's actually happening so that we can clarify that this is what's going to happen and this is the way it's going to be for the future. So we're doing it this way, whether you like it or not, and that's just the way we do it, and we'll take ownership for that. And that's pretty much where I'm going with this, is the accountability factor. A lot of people are obviously scared of being sued, or insurance claims coming in and afterwards. And obviously, especially in your industry, where the lifetime of the project continues on well past after the construction is finished, and you still have to have ownership for the breeding and the living of that project after it's handed over.
Well, yeah. So one of the employers I've worked with through the years, they use the motto: "If you see something, say something." And that was really focused on the safety aspect of
Yeah.
construction delivery. But it's the same in engineering, right? If you see something that is obvious, you need to say something. Is
Yeah.
the approach I like to take. And there's definitely some coaching opportunities with particular clients. They may say, "Hey, I want to take a look at this XYZ," and maybe at a first glance, I'm like, "Well, if you're already using XYZ, you've been using it for a couple of decades now. But if we take a look at that, we may tell you can't use that anymore. So you need to tell me if that's the position you want to be in, and if it is, we'll try to help you come up with some better solutions." But
Mhm.
just realize that just for me taking a glance at it is probably not sufficient. And um, I want to be fair to the client and not make their life more difficult. I want to be in a way, I want to be the easy button. I want them to rely on me and have
Mhm.
trust. But if something's not safe, I'm going to say something to them. And um, but if there's different levels of safety. And I just want them to be aware of the situation and be transparent with them.
Yeah. So going back to the earlier introduction, we need to be introvert. We need to be good at maths. Is there any other characteristics would stand out for you in terms of a quality engineer?
Um, well, in today's world, we spend a lot of time working on computer programs, so computer literate is important. We're doing a lot more with integrating programs or even use of artificial intelligence, but
Hmm.
uh, knowledge of the computer and comfort with
Yeah,
that is definitely important.
yeah. I see BIM modeling has obviously been a major impact in terms of constructability of projects and planning of projects as well.
Yeah,
So
three-dimensional design is incredible.
yeah,
And how far it's come in the last decade is incredible too. So I
yeah,
remember a decade ago, the idea of models was really a good sales
pitch.
tool. And
Yeah,
yeah, right. And today
yeah,
we're using it to build things, and it's even getting into the hands of the people out on the job site doing the work. They've got tablets and phones and
yeah,
whatever else, but they've got instantaneous access to the documents, and it's pretty incredible to see what's going on with that these days.
it, yeah. It's amazing. Like it's very dynamic, and cuts out a lot of unknowns or conversations that probably we needed to have. Whereas we don't need to have that conversation anymore. You just basically open up the system and go click click. That
Right.
that's the problem.
From
It's amazing.
a safety perspective, gosh,
Yeah,
the BIM Navisworks walkthrough a model, it's great. You can say, okay, well, we need to access these points. You've got a valve 20 foot into the air. How are we going to get to that?
yeah, yeah.
So there are different things that you can incorporate into the design if you have the right people in the room.
Yeah, brilliant. And I like it. And people say, and there is a sort of mantra that construction hasn't moved on in terms of technology. Like it bloody well has. Like
Yeah, yeah.
it's so much more advanced than what it was.
It's been interesting to see. So when I began my career more than 2 decades ago in construction, gosh, we were using fax machines. We were using
Yeah,
pen
yeah,
and paper. I'm still very much a pen and paper person, but
yeah,
um, I'm probably a blend of pen and paper and using tech tools. But the people coming out of school today, they expect tech tools, and
yeah,
the people that are nearing the end of their career, it's tough to make that adjustment for a lot of those folks into the tech tools. So
yeah,
um, where I'm at in my career, I've got exposure to the tech, I've got exposure to the pen and paper, and honestly, there's times where um, either method is effective. There's times where one method is more effective than the other.
yeah. Well, just on that, can you give us an insight into maybe some catastrophic events that you've witnessed due to, lack of planning, or something that was unforeseen, or something that happened, or that was potentially could have happened in your experience, and from an engineering point of view, where, wow, that was a near miss, or that was an actual event that sticks in your mind?
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate. I don't have any of those catastrophic events that I've experienced stuck in my mind. But what I can say is that earlier in my career, I spent a lot of time being a problem solver and putting out fires, and I got a little bit of adrenaline from that experience, and probably a little bit addicted to it. And being in the service world for industrial customers, it was a lot of that. It was like, hey, this broke down. We need to figure out how to fix this as quickly as possible. And
Mm.
when you're in those situations, you become the hero, and that feels good.
Yeah, yeah,
But what I've learned as I've aged here, I just don't have that energy to keep up with that anymore. So problem
yeah, yeah,
prevention has become a lot more important to me.
yeah, 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 yeah,
So maybe a little bit different twist on your question, but you know, I went from problem solving, but I've been able to leverage my experience problem solving to, hey, let's try to prevent these things from happening in the first time.
yeah,
So I put a lot of focus in problem prevention because I sleep better at night. I'm able to maintain my energy better, and
yeah.
I'm not 25 years old anymore.
Yeah, yeah, you don't need to do that chasing. There's a great saying, actually: solve it before you see it.
Yeah, I can appreciate that for sure. Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
there's a
true.
lot of that is, going back to the idea of using BIM, we're trying to build the project virtually before we build it in the field. And if we could solve those problems in the virtual world before we're out there on the job site, just think of the amount of resources that saves. I mean,
Yeah,
it may push some of the cost to the upfront side of the project or the design,
yeah,
but if you can avoid an error in the field or a conflict in the field, you're saving thousands of dollars by the hour.
yeah, yeah. I've got to throw another curveball at you, if you don't mind. From an environmental impact point of view, are we doing enough in the engineering sector?
Yeah, so part of the group I work with, McClure, we've got an environmental team, and we're certainly looking at it. It's very important and core to our business. There's a lot of these mega projects, especially across the United States. There's a lot of question about power usage and
Yeah,
water, regardless of the data centers are an easy
yeah,
um, target, but there's other large projects that are out there. But um, I think more can still be done there, is my personal opinion. And I know everybody's working on it, and it's a matter of where is the return on the investment. That's part of it. Maybe that's not a great answer, but everybody's looking at it. We don't want to hurt our environment. Now
yeah.
you've got some exposure to the international markets.
Hmm.
Um, what's your thought on that?
I love. Obviously, first of all, it's my podcast, not yours. My own take on it is, I think if we can definitely do more. And we had a podcast actually on with a waste environmental guy, and we talked about simple things like how to, not be putting all of everything into a skip, into a rubbish dump, and you know, just because it's in the skip and it's away from the site, that it's no longer your problem. And I took that podcast, I took a lot away from that podcast, as in, when we talk about environmental, we talk about the big pollution and, the massive power plants and as you say, the electrical, infrastructure projects and stuff like that, and the data centers. But, if we go in small steps and we all collectively look at, just the general management of waste on a project, and just focus on that. I don't think we have that nailed down. If I'm honest.
Yeah.
across the board. And so there's a bigger picture, yes, but small wins first is what I would say. That's the first thing. The second thing I'd say is still a heavy reliance on concrete
Yeah.
in the natural built environment, and for obvious reasons, it's continued on. But are we really going to use concrete in the next 100 years, or what is the alternative, or is there an alternative being looked at? I know there's eco-friendly concrete solutions as well that's come out and stuff like that, but still, I suppose if you wanted to look at a particular material and not to take the concrete industry out and say it's them that's polluting the environment, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying as a usability product is one of the dense ones that we're using, and it's one of the ones that's covers a lot of construction. So is there an alternative? Is there a solution? Are we looking at it in a different way? I don't know. Maybe people could put in the comments if they have heard of other alternatives. That would be my
Yeah.
two cents.
I think from just hearing you talk, just the overall continuing to harvest Earth's raw materials. I mean, how long can we continue to do that? And
Yeah.
We're as a society, we're becoming better at recycling, and maybe the first generation process isn't the most cost effective, but now that we're several generations down on some of these products, we're continuing to get better, and we're going to have to continue to do that as Earth.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm not around when some of these things come to a head and we continue to have plenty of Earth's raw materials available, but somebody's going to have to deal with it at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, the electrification of vehicles has been a good impact. So there's cars, company cars, there's trucks at some stage, whether it's hydrogen or whether it's electrical.
But it also adds to our electric grid, right, and our need, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
So there's a trade. So which do you want? Actually, to be honest with you, we could be here for another podcast on this one subject. But I'm just thinking as well, just from a structural and from an engineering point of view, it obviously is one of your forefront priorities, as in to protect the environment and to build or design with the environmental sympathy hat on.
Yeah, and when we come up with solutions for cleaning up products and refining products, I mean there's contaminants potentially that come out of those processes, and how we mitigate or manage those is important. And we're continuing to get smarter on how we do that. When using AI as a research tool, certainly has helped us become smarter as well. Even if, through that interaction, we're able to ask it questions and review data and look at potential challenges, opportunities that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. And I'm kind of excited to see where that continues to go.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you used the word opportunities, because it is an opportunity. Like, it's not a threat. And I think that's where sort of the language gets confused, where people look at them from this sort of area and go, oh, it's a threat to profit. It's a threat to our business. It's not. It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity for sure. Yeah. And, some of the businesses that exist today weren't even thought of 2 decades ago, maybe even 5 years ago. Some of the businesses today weren't thought of, and that's going to continue. And as we mitigate these things and treat them as opportunities, there's going to be new jobs that are created to protect the environment and make things better for you and I in the future, and our kids and grandkids, and those things are happening.
Give me, if you don't mind, I wouldn't be aware, a lot of the viewers and listeners wouldn't be aware, but give us a sense of the salary range for a top engineer in the States.
Yeah, that's a pretty loaded question there, but
it's a loaded question. Sorry about that.
It's a loaded question. Yeah. So I've been out of the game from a new hire from college for a long time, but um, the new hires out of school that have a background in education and engineering, I wouldn't hesitate to say they're definitely north of the $50,000 range, and
Yeah.
there's probably not a cap on it. So I've built my career as a generalist. Just I've been exposed to a lot of different things, and
Yeah.
but there's a lot of celebration on people that are specialists, and
Yeah.
you have the right team together, the right specialty. Um, there may not be a cap on it.
Yeah. Because as well as that, there's a lack of specific individuals that you're talking about at the top end. Like I see it in the electrical industry, commissioning engineers like hen's teeth, they're just not there. And so they can basically call whatever salary
Yeah,
they
you
think
can.
is.
Some of them they can name their price in a way,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
there's probably a basic level people need to be at for a living, and
Yeah.
beyond that, what you bring to the table and the knowledge you provide, it uh, helps you get above that basic level.
So would there be a difference between and a salary between a structural engineer and a civil engineer?
Um, from what I can see, it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
I think we're like everyone else. Everyone's goal is to be close to the median
Yeah.
value that's out there and published. But if we're all trying to be at the median or a little bit above, the median continues to rise, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
But um, but there's certainly services out there that provide that median, and they'll say, okay, this person with 3 to 5 years experience, their median range should be X and Y. And for
Yeah.
somebody with 25 to 30 years experience, their median range should be A to B. And
Yeah.
there's plenty of services that do that.
Yeah. Interesting. Is there any transferable skills where you see people? So I mentioned earlier on about safety, people transferring into safety. Is there any transferable skills that you've seen where probably somebody was a carpenter or where they were a digger driver or whatever else, and then there's a natural progression to engineering. Somebody that might be out there listening and going, you know what, I'm not going to be doing this for much longer. I think I need to change it up and go into engineering.
Yeah, so engineering is probably one of the harder ones to roll into, just from the certifications or to be licensure of an engineer. But there are opportunities, people that are doing drafting or people that do have construction experience. I've got an engineering degree. I'm not a licensed engineer, but I'm able to
Mm.
support the team.
Yeah.
And I think those opportunities exist. But is it an easy one to say it's transferable? Maybe not, but there are
Yeah.
definitely people that are doing drafting today that will go get an engineering degree, but what I would say, those people that were doing that provided a unique perspective to their design. Um,
Yeah.
and and to make that change or that adjustment, they provide a ton of value.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's some people that doing drafting that they with their experience, they're as good at design as the designer is, or better at times. Um, so those people are definitely invaluable. They're great.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I ask you, why did you not do your license?
So I got out of college and I went to go work with a contractor. So I did take my initial engineering test, so that I'm an engineer in training for likely the rest of my life. I may get licensed later on, but I didn't have a need for a license in the contract as a contractor. So
Hmm.
now being with an engineering firm, I'm thinking about it different.
Yeah.
But um, I see the folks that are doing the technical work, and they are great at it, and they're smart, and I'm not sure I add enough value there to get licensed.
Okay. Interesting. So it's more of a where you fit at the moment as opposed to a personal achievement.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Um, that's interesting, actually. Um, it tells me your mindset and where you're at the moment in terms of you're comfortable in your own position, you're comfortable in your own sort of team environment.
Yeah, my goal and what I've learned is if I can help others succeed, it helps me succeed. So I'm in a position today, I'm able to help others, and
Yeah.
uh, their success is my success, and the more that I'm able to help them and facilitate or mentor or guide, that benefits me.
Yeah. I can see that. So, people want to be led as well. Some people don't want to manage. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah, managing as a guy, I mean, it's unique, for sure. So um, I was a boots on the ground manager doing a lot of work in the construction industry. And early in my career, I had an opportunity to be a branch manager of an office. And it was interesting. Folks that were my peer the day before, and we'd collaborate and strategize. And the moment that became their leader, they started talking to me different. So the idea of leadership is lonely at the top. I believe there's a
yeah,
lot of truth to that. And
that's true.
um, but yeah, but then the approach working with people changes. Some of the challenges are if people bring a challenge to the table, are they bringing the challenge to the table because they want you to empathize and listen, or are they bringing the challenge to the table because they want you to do something about it? And um, a leadership lesson would be you need to ask.
Hmm.
Some people just don't. Some people want you to listen and understand where they're coming from and feel heard, be heard, and not necessarily have you jump in and try to fix it. So
Yeah.
that's been a good lesson in personal life as well.
Yeah. No, well done. Well done. Um, in terms of where the future is with engineering, is there anything that you can give us and give the listeners sort of feedback on in terms of, we obviously spoke about the shortage of engineers, so that's a challenge. But can you give us any more sort of insights as regards, the engineering sector from a point of view of um, the industry? Is it going to be more technology led? Is it going to be more sort of, more of the same as it is? Or what sort of, is there any sort of insights you can give us in terms of the engineering sector? As in, what is it doing? Maybe that's to the forefront of engineering in the States in terms of where's the major pushes for the industry, or where do they want it to go as a sort of an overview of the whole industry?
Yeah, technology is continuing to be a bigger piece of it as we move forward. It's the world we live in, and it doesn't seem to be changing anytime soon.
Hmm.
Um, Integration of programs and how they communicate is becoming more common. So a lot of a certain tool may be used to perform a certain task on the design, but then you're changing that tool, or you're moving the components into a different tool to communicate the design. And
Yeah,
um, I think,
integration is.
yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
becoming more and more seamless all the time. Three
yeah,
dimensional is not new, but it's almost table stakes anymore. If you're not doing your design in a format that allows it to be three-dimensional,
yeah,
it's the 2D design work is going away now. In the world we're in, we do a lot of um, sketches. Maybe you're using a two-dimensional tool for those sketches for a solution for
hmm,
something specific. But when you're looking at holistically at a project, the three-dimensional and coordinating design between, you mentioned MEP earlier. I mean, coordinating that design is created a ton of value.
yeah, yeah. I definitely agree. I think we might have went through a phase where we overcomplicated the technology part, where it was just layers and layers and layers of software for all different aspects of,
There are layers and layers of software. It is
isn't it?
something that is
But I think we're
an
stripping
eye
it back though,
opening.
Craig. Are we? I think there's a mindset to strip it back and have something that's more eco in terms of everything's in under one software, because we don't need to have all these multiple different software packages.
Yeah, and the innovators out there, if a lot of the innovation happens from small firms, these entrepreneurs, and
Yeah,
they're providing some pretty innovative solutions and solving problems and doing great with that. But then it creates another layer that exists. So um, some of the acquisitions in the business and consolidation don't hurt my feelings that much because it puts it on a single platform.
yeah,
Um, Now they're the open AI or open. I'm not a technology guy, but the open platforms where they can
yeah,
communicate and operate as a seamless unit, that's very attractive to me. Just
yeah,
makes my life simpler. I'm an Excel, Microsoft Excel guy. I'm a pen and paper person, and
yeah.
the simpler it is for me, the more I'm apt to use it.
100%. I'm with you. 100%. Maybe we're just getting old, Craig. Maybe
Yeah,
that's okay. We're going to get through some personal curveball questions at you, if you don't mind. Yeah.
sure.
So shoot. Knowing what you know now, Craig Montz, what would you do different in life?
Yeah, so I grew up as a rural farm kid in Iowa. Um, what's interesting to me is I didn't know what ag careers were. I thought it was just you'd be a farmer.
Yeah.
Um, I got nudged into construction early on, and I didn't know what construction was. I thought construction was building houses.
Yeah.
And so when I get an opportunity to go speak with students, I just encourage them, open your eyes a little bit. So when you think of construction, the guy that sold the paint on the wall behind me is not the same guy that put the paint on the wall.
Yeah.
That's two careers right there.
Yeah.
So there's just so many careers, so many opportunities. Don't pigeonhole the idea, but um, yeah, if I had to do it over again, I guess I would have bet on myself earlier in my career.
Okay.
Um, uh, I'm doing more of that now, but gosh, some
Yeah.
of these jobs, there is no limit to what can be done, and but I've really helped people. I mean, I've really focused on helping people. So the more I can help others, if I'm in a position where I'm able to do that, that's what I enjoy doing.
Wow. Do you think you might have sat back a bit and sort of, let other people lead in front of you?
Yeah, I feel like I'm a great number two, right? So
You're the
if
wingman.
somebody's got the vision and wants to go out there, I'm happy to help execute.
Yeah.
And that works well, and it's worked well for me. I love strategy, but uh, helping somebody else be successful has really worked well, and that's where I'm comfortable.
Brilliant. I love it. Favorite book?
Favorite book? Gosh, I was thinking about this. I would say probably Atomic Habits has probably made the biggest difference for me. Just the idea of habit stacking and um, creating systems to make things easier, or at least you create a system to whether that's, hey, I'm got this same morning routine. Well, maybe I can add something into my morning routine to help benefit my life further. So
Yeah.
that idea is great. I would say that's been one of the more impactful books I've read in the
Yeah.
last several years.
I similar to yourself, I just fascinated by people behaviors, and how we all interact, and how, like, obviously me and you interact in two totally different countries, thousands of miles apart, if you like. And the fact we can have this conversation over the podcast and whatever else, and then who are you, and getting to know you and you getting to know me, all that stuff, just sort of like what ticks within a person's mind, why should you work with me and me work with you, or you not work with me because the two personalities can collide or whatever else. The whole that whole area just fascinates me.
Yeah, quite a few of the books I've read recently involve a lot of storytelling or try to understand how to do that better. People learn better if you're able to tell a story. And gosh, my wife is wonderful at telling stories, and she relates well with everybody. And I'm trying to do better with that. And um,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
your that's you
there's
being
value
introvert. There's your introvert. There's your introvert
there.
personality. Where we point actually, while we're on the subject, something about you that not many people would resonate in terms of the viewers and the listeners today. Something about you that maybe it's a hobby or something of interest about you.
Yeah, so my hobbies, I've really enjoy doing things in the outdoors. I've got 3 young kids, and we do a lot of outdoor activities. We've got livestock and kind of a little bit of a hobby farm type of deal, but it's
Brilliant.
really uh, evolved around 4-H or that type of thing. I don't know if you've got that over in the UK, but
What is it?
they call it
Oh,
4-H, but it's
foraging.
4-H.
4-H. What is that?
Yeah, it's a brand for kid leadership and exposure for kids to get into livestock projects, and it's really neat. So it teaches responsibility, but my kids do chores twice a day and
Okay.
take care of the animals and learn animal husbandry, and
Wow.
it's great for them. It's
Yeah.
great for all of us actually. But yeah, so I did enjoy things like hunting and fishing. I still do, but my kids are really the priority.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Um, if I had to ask you to take some time off, where is your happy place?
Well, the time off we take right now is really to our fairs that we have where our livestock are, and
Yeah,
uh, that's that's um, that's just where I'm at in life right now.
that's your happy place.
That works for me. Yes.
Craig, it's an absolute pleasure having you on the show. We really, really enjoyed talking to you today, especially, this is a serious topic in terms of the need for engineers in the construction workplace. And I think you've done a really good job of articulating the why as it goes, why we need these people, and then actually what do these people actually do, and then obviously the open up the mind in terms of all of the different avenues and opportunities that are available to people to get into this industry. If people want to reach out to yourself and maybe have an offline chat to discuss the business, and maybe they might have a young person that the son or daughter that might be thinking about this area, I'm sure you're open to a chat. How would they do that? How would they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So I do go and speak with a lot of the local communities, local schools, and I do enjoy sharing that and enjoy pointing things out like the example behind me with the paint on the wall, and
Yeah,
just people are more open. They have more opportunities today, but if somebody wants to find me, LinkedIn's probably the best place to find me. But yeah, speaking with students and trying to just show them and open their eyes of, hey, here's the other thing. So when I was a kid, and I didn't understand that there were multiple careers and it wasn't just one thing. And um, if they can see that there's other avenues, other opportunities, there might be something that clicks.
yeah, yeah. And for those people that are watching or listening, mcclurevision.com is the website for the company. mcclurevision.com. It's actually pretty decent, pretty good website. I'll give you an idea of the type of stuff that they do. Listen, thanks very much, Craig. It's been an absolute pleasure having you. And we'll put some links into the show notes so that people can look you up. So we'll see you again. Hope to get you back on in the future. Thanks,
Yeah,
thanks for your time, Craig.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Take care.